Gary gets you up and going weekday mornings on AM 650 KGAB.
All right, good morning. 9:40 is the time under sunshine here in the capital city. Glad to have you with us. My name is Gary Freeman. 66 is the current temperature right now, and this is KGAB Mornings. Well, you know, we've talked a little bit on the program here about free-range parenting or free-range kids, and I'm happy to have the author of a book, blog, Twitter feed, Free Range Kids, also on the Daily Show, also known as the world's worst mom, Lenore Skenazy. Lenore, welcome to the program today. Glad to have you with us.
Oh, well, thank you. What a lovely introduction.
Well, we try. And since you are, quote unquote, the world's, and when I was contacting you, I said, to the world's worst mom, tell us a little bit about, I mean, here in Wyoming, we know what free range chicken is and free range cows and all that other good stuff. But explain to us a little bit what free range kids are and what free range parenting is, if you would.
For sure. Free range kids is the movement I started, and you'll recognize them because they're just plain old kids raised the old-fashioned way. We don't think they need a security detail. Every time they leave the house, they can hop on their bikes and ride to the library. They can walk to school. They can knock on a friend's door and say, come out and play. It's something you would probably recognize. If you're an adult already, you recognize it.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things, and I did a blog on our KGAB blog one time here recently, and I said, here's 5 things that we got away with as kids that if parents did them now, either you would become a ward of the state or the parents would go to prison.
Right. Well, that's actually sort of the direction that my movement has gone. I mean, I spent the first several years trying to convince people that there weren't predators behind every bush and that they could send their kids back outside. And then as they sent them outside, and I started hearing from parents who were visited by Child Protective Services for letting their kids walk home from the park or play in the backyard, God forbid, or go to the post office on their own, then I realized that this fear for our kids, the idea that they must be supervised every single second, had seeped into law. And the parents were being prosecuted, and I'd say persecuted, for trusting their kids, for trusting their community, for saying, hey, I want you to go get the bread for tonight's dinner, just the way our parents did with us. And so Free Range Kids now has a whole component where we're trying to change the laws. I mean, I actually have something called the Free Range Kids and Parents Bill of Rights, which I can tell you because it's just one sentence. You want to hear?
Do it.
Okay. It says, our children have the right to some unsupervised time with our permission, and we have the right to give it to them without getting arrested. Because what I'm hearing from parents around the country is that there's the famous case in Maryland of the parents who let their children walk home from the playground ages 10 and 6, and they were investigated twice for child neglect. Last week there was a case in Florida where a kid was waiting outside. Normally his parents get home right after he gets home from school, but they were delayed, and so he was playing basketball in his own backyard for 90 minutes, and a neighbor called and said, there's an unsupervised child here. And by the time the parents got home, the kid was in the cop car, and the parents were arrested, taken down to the station house, fingerprinted, strip searched, and thrown in jail because they had let their child be outside for 90 minutes without supervision and without food and shelter and water, as if you can't survive as an 11-year-old without those things for 90 minutes. So what I really am, more concerned about these days is making sure that we change those laws, because those laws are based on an completely phantasmagoria, whatever you want to call it, a hysterical idea that our kids can't survive from one second to the next without us being there holding their hands and feeding them.
We are talking with the world's worst mom, tongue-in-cheek, Lenore Skenazy. She's the author of Free Range Kids. She also has a website. According to your research, Lenore, now I was raised up in the 70s and 80s. When did some of this ridiculousness start coming about? Was it early 90s and the 90s, or do you know?
Yeah. Well, crime was going up from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s. What most people don't realize is that then it took a sharp turn, and now it's back to the level it was in 1963. So people our age, raised in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, saw crime going up. So that started part of the hysteria. But also, we have a lot more media than when I was growing up, certainly. And the media knows that the story that will keep viewers tuned in, furrowed brows and total consternation is the story of a middle-class white kid in danger, kidnapped, raped, murdered. And so once the Eitan Payet's story caught fire in 1979, a boy 6 years old taken from a bus stop here in my city, New York.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Adam Walsh murder in 1982 of a boy taken from a Sears in Florida and murdered. Those stories were it's a weird word, but I'm going to say successful in terms of the media. The media realized, why won't they just keep finding these? And they have. I mean, they will go to the ends of the earth to find these stories, which thank God are extremely rare. But they don't seem rare because we see them on TV 24/7. When I give lectures, I ask people if they've ever heard the name Maddie McCann. Do you know the name Maddie McCann?
No, not right off the bat.
Okay. She was a 3 or 4 year old girl taken from her hotel room in Portugal, maybe 10 years ago, and never seen again. And a lot of people do raise their hands because they remember this story because we all sent news reporters over to Portugal to cover the story of missing Maddie. And I say, okay, and I give them one pop quiz in my lecture, and the pop quiz is this. Can you tell me anything else that has happened in Portugal in the last 500 years? And people laugh because they realize, no, they can't. There's only one story that's important to Americans from Portugal, and that is the story of an abducted child. And so we see these stories are the most rare thing, but when you're fed a constant diet of them, it starts feeling like 24/7 it's happening on TV, it's 24/7 happening in real life. And then if I don't let my kids play outside or walk outside, then your kids look outside and there's nobody to play with or walk with. So you keep your kids inside, and gradually we're down to between 11 and 13% of children who walk to school anymore.
That's right. We're talking with Lenore Skenazy. She is a free-range kids author. One last thing I got to ask you about before you run. I know you've got to scoot. Well, there's two things. One, I want to make a statement. Another thing, I want to bring this other one up. One is, I almost feel like we have Department of Family Services, basically the same thing. It almost seems like DFS, much like the IRS, who really is not elected or anything, but have a lot of power and seem to be feared nowadays. And if you don't have people that have common sense or take some responsibility, they'll do stupid things. For instance, this 19-year-old kid, and I'm not advocating this, but how many people, whether you're a guy or a gal, and you don't need to raise your hands to embarrass yourself, of course, but we're 18 and say your girlfriend was 17 and you had sex. Okay. Well, nowadays, if the mother decides she doesn't like the boyfriend, she files a suit, he's all of a sudden a sex offender.
Wait, can I say it doesn't even matter if the mother loves or hates the boyfriend? The case that I have up on the site reason.com right now is of a 19-year-old, went online, found a girl, 17. They got together. They had sex. The mom didn't know where the 17-year-old was because the girl is epileptic, so she called the police to find her. And so that's how the police got involved. Well, when the police talked to the girl, it turns out she's actually 14. She had lied about her age, both on the site that she was on and to the young man. Well, to me, that's completely exonerating circumstances. And to the mother and the girl, they didn't want to pursue this against the boy. They felt like he was innocent. He thought he was having sex with a 17-year-old. That's that. The girl admitted she lied. The mother knows that it was the girl was doing this. The end. But no, the court said it doesn't matter what the parents say. It doesn't matter what the quote-unquote victim says. Nonetheless, she was victimized, and the boy is sitting in jail for 90 days. But worse, when he comes out, he will be on the sex offender list for 25 years.
And will need to register wherever he goes.
Having to, insane. You can't live near a school, a playground, a daycare center. And for 5 years, he's not allowed to go on the internet. He's not allowed to be in a home where there's a smartphone, and he's not allowed to speak with anybody under age 17 except his own brothers. So that's draconian. And that's why when people ask, what is free-range kids? I explain it's not really a parenting philosophy. It's really looking at what happens to a society that believes that children are in constant danger. Because if you believe they're in constant danger, you make crazy laws like arresting the parents who let the 11-year-old play in the backyard. You make crazy laws like throwing this 19-year-old in jail because you think that the children are all in danger from this horrible predator. That's not a predator. We just have just sort of ginned up the idea that since kids are always in danger, let's make them safer. And instead, we are arresting parents and 19-year-olds.
Or the grandmother that went to jail because one of her little lovelies got away. How many times do we break away from our parents? This is really good stuff, Lenore Skenazy, and I know that we don't we're simply out of time. However, I know you've probably whet a lot of people's appetites, and of course, I want to know, how can we connect with you?
Oh, so easy. First of all, my website and Twitter feed and book are freerangekids.com. And I also write at reason.com because Reason is a libertarian site, and they are fighting the intrusion of government into everyday decisions that we make. Because, frankly, nobody ever thinks that anybody else is making the absolute right decisions when it comes to their kids or what they eat or wear or do. And we don't want to have that legislated.
Well, the government does. The government knows how to raise our kids. You left them out. Right. Of course, I'm joking.
Right. The government took away that 11-year-old boy and his 4-year-old brother for a month from the parents who were 90 minutes late getting home that day.
Incredible. Well, Lenore Skenazy, once again, thank you so much for carving out part of your busy morning to be with us. This is so important. Freerangekids.com. Follow her on Twitter, Facebook, and even pick up her book. And the name of the book is Free Range Kids. Is that correct?
It is.
Okay.
Talk about branding. Yeah, it's all Free Range Kids.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day. We appreciate it.
You too.
All right. Very good. Right. All right. Very, very, very good interview there. We will have some open line time on the other side of this break. My name is Gary Freeman. The webcam is on. Good morning.
Introducing a new day of the week. Someday. Now, everything you were going to do someday is on the calendar. Want to retire someday? You'll really want this. A My Social Security account at socialsecurity.gov. You can estimate your future benefits and manage current benefits online. Millions of people have a My Social Security account. Get yours today, because someday is here at socialsecurity.gov.
1 in 9 babies will be born prematurely, needing the specialized care of a neonatal ICU. Toby's Shower for Babies knows that new parents appreciate any kindness during this stressful time. That's why they donate baskets to the Level 4 NICU in Denver, the closest destination for preemies in the region. The baskets contain blankets, books, a stuffed animal, onesies, and more. They brighten up the room, as well as mom and dad's spirits. You can help by donating to this caring organization. Visit showerforbabies.org or find them on Facebook.
At the Cheyenne Regional Heart and Vascular Institute, your health is our priority. We serve a community that spans southeastern Wyoming, northern Colorado, and western Nebraska, and we're focused on delivering high-quality, compassionate care to each and every patient we see. We provide comprehensive care, including preventative, surgical, and post-surgical treatment. To learn more about what we can do for you, visit CheyenneRegional.org/HVI. You'll rest easy knowing that your heart is in good hands.
Janet Marshner, an individual member of Cheyenne Leads.
My perception of Leads was that I would never get on the board because I was not a representative of a large business. I just contacted Leads and asked if I could join as an individual member. The membership fee is extremely reasonable, very affordable for individuals to join. As an individual member of Leads, I highly encourage other members, nonprofits, businesses to join Leads, help us grow Cheyenne and Laramie County.
Be a part of the progress and join online today at CheyenneLeads.org.
You are invited to a premier Frontier Days event. The annual Cowgirls of the West Fabulous Brunch and Fashion Show will be held on July 20th at Little America in the Grand Ballroom. Events by Little America will feature both women and men's clothing. The excitement begins at 9 a.m. Festivities include a silent auction, jewelry show by Trader Barb, and more. Reservations are a must as seating is limited. For reservations, call Nancy at 632-6068.
Gary Freeman gets you up and going weekday mornings on AM 650 KGAB.
All right, 9:54 is the time, and 632-6500, 632-3323 is the phone number if you'd like to be on. How about that free-range parenting? Thank God there's a site out there. It's just sad what they're doing to our kids and all these stupid laws that are made up. Well, because the government wants to protect us of ourselves. And I'm not saying that there aren't laws that should be incorporated. And a lot of times laws come about because stupid people do stupid things. However, when you let your kid play in your front yard and you're feeling guilty like you're a bad parent or something like that, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Well, it's no wonder we don't see more kids playing outside. I mean, the government feels like if they're not supervised 24/7, either they're going to get into something they shouldn't, and or they are going to be subjugated to some kind of a crime. I mean, we live in an evil world, and I'm not saying that we should not be wise in raising our children, and we should not be wise about our surroundings or the neighborhood we're in, but good grief, to hover and try to overprotect them in all this stuff, it's absolutely ridiculous. So I do appreciate Lenore Skenazy coming on and talking about that. Very, very important. I mean, these are things you think about all the time. It's like this nursery worker down in Aurora, Colorado. The mom packed a lunch for her kiddo, and when she went to pick up her kid, well, the Oreo cookies were still in the lunchbox because the nursery worker deemed that child should not have been eating those Oreo cookies. Well, I'm sorry, nursery worker. It's none of your stinking business whether I want to feed my kid an Oreo cookie or not. And then when the parent came to pick up this child, she was schooled by the nursery worker saying, you really ought to feed your child more healthier snacks than this. And this is what it's coming to. And as I talked with Lenore about it, I mean, I really feel that way. I remember when my daughter Julia was born, and she would not latch on to a bottle nipple or anything like that. We ended up going after, kind of wore our welcome out at Cheyenne Regional Medical Center, or so it seemed. We ended up going down to the NICU down in Denver. Well, we were down there for about a week and a half. So here comes this social worker. She comes in, and, a lot of you ladies, you have that postpartum depression going on, and you got all these emotionals going. So this social worker kind of slides her way into the room, and she goes, well, we've got these gas cards to help you with the trip. We've got, free lunch for you down in the cafeteria. And I thought, well, that's a blessing. They're just trying to do some complimentary stuff. No. That was just the gateway for her to get all kinds of information from my wife that really she had no business asking. She wasn't the doctor. She wasn't the nurse. She had no business asking my wife these questions, but my wife not thinking. And so when I got in the room and my wife told me what happened, I said, you don't tell her anything. I said, you don't tell that social worker anything. I didn't get on her too much, but I was like, honey, you got to be careful what you tell these people. And so now all of a sudden it's like, well, we don't think that you're fit to take your child home. Yeah, that's what it turned into. And I'll tell you what, the Jesse Elmer Freeman, my granddaddy, redneck, started coming out. And I told the woman, I said, you know what, why don't you pack your junk and get out of this room? I said, it is none of your business. I said, you're very invasive. And I said, and I want you to go right now. All of a sudden, this opened up a can of worms. So here's the long and short of it. Once we got released to leave, to come back to Cheyenne. Now get this. I get a call from DFS here because this woman down here in the NICU called DFS up here and reported this. Craziness. I was 37. We're 37-year-old people. We weren't a bunch of young kids, but we were being treated that way. And yeah, it got my goat. So the lady said, well, the social worker down there said XYZ and that your wife said this. I said, ma'am, that is not what is going to happen. I rest assured. And thank God the gal here at DFS, she said, no problem, Mr. Freeman. I'll just close out the case. I said, thank you very much. She goes, no problem. She goes, I'm just following up. And once I gave her that, I didn't have to spend a lot of time whether she closed the case. This is the kind of stuff that's going on in our town. Forget America. This is stuff that goes on here. And some of these laws are absolutely asinine, and we could actually go on, but unfortunately you hear the bumper music, and so it's time to go. Tomorrow, we've got Laramie County School District number 1. The gang will be in. We'll also have some more open line time news and sports with Doug Randall. It has been a pleasure to be with you today. I hope you have a better than great day today. And thanks to Jeremiah Sandberg, Mr. District Attorney, for coming in. Also, Frank Gerstenkorn, John C. Prevette, and, of course, Lenore Skenazy, Free Range Kids author. And thank you for all your phone calls. It's been a swell day. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy it while you can. Until next time, my friend. So long for now. Rush Limbaugh straight ahead.
KGAB Orchard Valley, Cheyenne.
KGAB Mornings with Gary and Doug. We've got everything you need to start your morning on AM 650 KGAB.